I'd like to welcome you this morning to the King's Manor in York, now part of the University of York, housing, amongst other things, the archaeology department, which is where I had my PhD. So this is my home, my academic home, and you're all very welcome to it. The King's Manor has a very long and really interesting history, and if I run out of things to say to do with genealogy, I will tell you a bit more about it, but I do encourage you to read the signs on the buildings. If you can't hear, is that better? Is that better?
Okay. It says she goes up and down.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Is the sound, if I project, is that better?
The sound's perfectly okay.
Okay, I will keep projecting. And we try not to talk while I'm looking at the laptop. Some introductions. My name's Pat Reynolds. I'm the Executive Director of Free UK Genealogy, the charity that supports the FreeBMD, FreeSen and FreeREG projects, and has an overarching interest in promoting open genealogy. Also here today are, I think, people who are involved in the senior management teams of all of those three projects, possibly not FreeBMD, and several of our trustees and several members of our advisory board. We also have most of the staff of Free UK Genealogy with us. That we are technically 6 people, but 2 of the people are very part-time. One, Helen, who I will be talking about later, the digitizer, is very part-time, and the other Helen, just to confuse things, I tried saying her name should be changed to Sally, but she didn't want it, is the bookkeeper. We've also got, working on the YouTube social media side today, Denise. Can you just stand up, Denise, and wave at people so that they know what you look like? Standing at the back of the room is Rich Pomfret, who is our technical project manager. So he supports all the volunteer technical team. Not here today is our one full-time developer, who again supports the volunteer developers. And that is all us. If you don't know who somebody is, just ask them. Everybody here is very friendly and will be. Quickly to run through the schedule today, it is pinned up in various places. You've basically got another 10 minutes of me talking quickly through some things that are going on at Free UK Genealogy at the moment. And then we've got the first presentation of the day by Eric Dickens of FreeREG, who's talking about FreeREG today and tomorrow. Then at 10 to 1, we have a lunch break for an hour. And then we recommence at 10 to 2 with Oliver Duke Williams, who's asking the very important question, what can we do with millions of records? He will be followed by myself presenting a paper that has largely been written by Brenda Bowers of FreeSen, with contributions from the wonderful Wayback Machine of the Internet Archive, which allows me to share some of the thoughts of what was going on way back in the early 2000s. We will then have the first break for a workshop in which there will be a number of tables and you can choose what you would like to talk about. One of the individual projects, about open data, about the technical side of our work, or about the non-transcriber-based volunteering opportunities we've got. More about that later. Then we have a break, 2 more workshops, and then sadly we have to say goodbye for the day and find our trains and cars home. No, wrong way. So, our update of our projects and plans. Because today is celebrating FreeSen and FreeREG, both of which are 20 years old this year, my update is largely going to be focused on what's happening on FreeBMD. FreeBMD, for those of you who, if you don't know it, is our longest running project. It is our biggest project in terms of the number of records we've got, in the terms of number of users we've got, and it's now exceeding its original target, which was to take us to the end of 1983 registrations, and is working on further into more modern records. This is what we're doing at the moment. We're pretty much complete in everything up to 83. There's just a few quarters where for something like marriages, we haven't got decent images yet, or the syndicate working on it hasn't quite completed it, but largely it's complete to 83. And you can see that we're over halfway through now the first 2 years of the additional work that we've started to take on. FreeBMD is very much looking its age now, and we have for a long time wanted to enable people who find it difficult to use the quite complicated data entry screen on FreeBMD to have an opportunity to use it in a way that still has the same functions. All the searches you can do on FreeBMD1, as we're now calling it, you'll be able to do on FreeBMD2. But rather than having to scroll down the page to get to all of those fields, this is our aim, that the whole of the search sits inside the homes page on a laptop or a PC, if you've got decent eyesight. So if you're viewing it at 100% or so, you won't have to scroll. The stuff that is at the bottom of the page of FreeBMD at the moment will be, you'll have to scroll down, but you can go all the way to the search button and start your investigations without scrolling. And this is the more important development, is that we're going to make it mobile friendly. This is a shot showing the first wireframe. That is, it's not functional, it's a designer's concept. With all of these, we are going to work through a number of iterations with the designs, with current users, with people who haven't seen it before, until we get a solution that will suit most people and will be usable by most people. Interestingly, we found out in this morning's trustee meeting that on FreeBMD we are now approaching 45%, I think you said, Rich, of users of FreeBMD using tablets and mobiles. If you've ever tried to use a tablet or particularly a mobile on FreeBMD, you'll realise just how hard people are working to get at the data. Also, we realise that while the number of people using tablets has gone up considerably compared with a couple of years ago, that number on tablets is actually constant, and what is now really growing is the number on mobiles. So this kind of, I'm so sorry, I'm standing in front of it. So this kind of image, move back so people can see at home. The one on this one, the one nearest to me, is the home page, which has got a fair amount and has got the search button on it. And the one at the top of the one that's two together shows you what the drop-down menu looks like, and the bottom shows you what comes in at the bottom of the page when you scroll down. Other things that I wanted to tell people about. We are not being able to see your notes is quite challenging when you've got no brain function. We're working on in sort of behind the scenes sort of way on building a new project looking at probate records. And I think some of you here may have, over the summer, filled in our consultation about how useful you would find that. One of the things that we do, that with the development team, the tech guys and girls did a huge amount of work on over the last couple of years, is taking all the code that had been developed for FreeREG and all the code that had been used for FreeSen, merging it into a common code base, which means now if we want to set up a new website like FreeBMD2, we don't have to do everything from scratch. A lot of the functionality is just there because it's built in at the bottom. And that means setting up a new website will be much quicker in the future than it has been in the past. And indeed, the development of FreeBMD2 will be much quicker than the development has been in the past on FreeREG and FreeSen, which has been a number of years, whereas this is going to be more a number of months as a project. That does two things. It allows us to spend more time doing the testing side of it before we go public. And it also means that we are able to divide out, in the case of FreeBMD2, the back side of it, the code, the database, and also all the transcription tools don't have to be brought in, and we can move forwards on FreeBMD on the interface. We've got a couple of really fabulous volunteers in user experience who are helping us with that. I will be around all day, so if I've missed something important and you think, I wish Pat would have talked about that, please let me know and I will talk to you around it. I'd like now to hand over to Eric to talk about FreeREG today and tomorrow. I'm sorry, this may take some time.
It may take.
What did you wear my lanyard and become me? Thank you.
Right, everyone, is that microphone working on me now? Great, good. Okay. Let me just find a bit of talk. Says he. Right, how do I get up?
So press escape. Press escape.
That's what we need.
Just
Didn't find the mouse yet.
That's fine. It's really easy. There we go. It's on its way down. Oh, managed it.
Still lost.
We're in the middle of the screen now.
No, doesn't work. Something. Yeah, that's the PBS. Here we go.
Oh, it's thinking about it.
Why is someone come in? Oh, that's.
That's not yours, is it? Sorry.
No.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
That's got it. Right, just the enter, isn't it, to go move on? And
Kelly,
then left and right.
left and right, is it?
Okay, good afternoon everyone. I'm Eric Dickens and I'm a member of the FreeREG management team. A little bit about myself. I was born in 1938. I have a one-time great-grandfather who was born in 1865. So you work out your numbers there, that goes back a long way. I read engineering at Cambridge, got a degree from there. I then did apprenticeship at Rolls-Royce Cars. I then worked for Leo Computers, Lions Electronic Office, the world's first commercial computer. And on your table is a bit of a plug for it. They've got a very good website, and the Museum of Computing History at Cambridge has got a lot of it. After that, I was data processing manager for various companies, including Argos. In the last 20 years of my career, I ran a computer training centre in Peterborough. And as I came up to retirement, I thought, what am I going to do? I'll research my family tree. So around about 2002, 2003, came across FreeREG. And since a lot of my relatives were from Somerset, I said, right, let's go and have a look in there. They had no coordinator for Somerset, so I jumped straight in to be their coordinator and worked up that county, got a good relationship going with the county records office, and Somerset is now the third largest county of what we've done. But what I want to show you today is a slide presentation that I give to family history groups. Any of you who want it, you're very welcome to have it. It's only about 7 megabytes, so it's very easy to email it to you. Denise has got a copy. If you want to, just get in contact with her and she'll send it on. I'll let you have the copy that you can edit, so you can add your bits in that you wish. But this is all about FreeREG and how it works. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through it word by word, partly because you can read it, but also it's all very much what you can find on the website. So these are our objectives. And what is FreeREG? Well, basically we search parish registers, parish records, and the main thing we need to do is before 1837. This is when the normal recording of births, marriages and deaths started. The only entrants you have are from the parish registers. But you must remember when you're researching that not every marriage, for example, was entered. Particularly those who couldn't afford it, they'll just say to their neighbours, oh, we're married now, and that's it. So if you can't find an entry, don't be surprised. So on to FreeREG itself, our objectives and policies. This is straight off the website. I'm not going to go through it with you, but it tells you a bit about it. But there are a lot of copyright and other issues that we have to deal with. And this is a big problem to us at the moment. We don't have access to all the parish registers. Ancestry have actually bought up the rights to a lot of them. It makes it very difficult. They won't let us transcribe them. But we do know that there are a lot of parishes where they have not given permission because the parish priest is the incumbent at the time, is the owner of the rights to the parish register. They can say yes or no as to whether Ancestry photographed them or not. And I know in Somerset, at least 30% have said no. So they are not available anywhere else. And we want to try and make contact with these and make contact with the churches. And this is where we have the personal touch, which maybe some of the other websites don't. Because our view is that we ought to be able to approach the church and say, can we help? Because a lot of them have got websites, a lot of them have transcribed the registers and make them available. Because I think we should be promoting genealogy tourism, I think is the word now, where people go along and visit where their relatives were married, walk in the footsteps of their ancestors and so on. Going through the details, we have a constitution. The database was started 20 years ago, which is why we're here today, and we're now up to 46 million entries. We add about 6,000 entries a day. We have loads and loads to transcribe. If anyone wants to move from the other projects onto ours to transcribe, we'd love to have you. For instance, we've got the burial records of Manchester's public cemetery. there are 1 million people buried there. And we're slogging through these 1 million entries to record these burials. So we can look after, well, we can do with more people. This is some of the statistics that I produce. This goes out to the coordinators newsletter every 4 weeks. And as you can see, Norfolk is our biggest county. And funny enough, it's biggest, not only we've done most of the transcribing of it, but mainly because it is a large county and with a lot of records. And here's Somerset down the bottom in third place. But these are all the counties which have 240,000 or more entries. And we choose this because we've found that once you go past the 250,000, then those people researching start to find something useful. Less than 250,000, it's a bit thin. So all these counties, right the way down to there, are all useful to start to search. And I think I've got a slide for it. Right, so searching the database. As Pat said, this is the format of our homepage. All the 3 projects are similar. Everything's there. This is the one you really need to look for, the Soundex, which is very interesting. This actually finds quite a lot of people that you never thought, because spelling, pronunciation and other things varies an awful lot over time. For example, in Somerset, I've got a relative, I'm pretty sure is one of mine, who's called Dickens. Well, he was a Somerset man. He brought Somerset to what's your name be? My name be Dickens, you see. And so it went into the register Diggins. Of course, he didn't know how to spell his name, and this is the sort of problems you get in research. Sorry, I'm just going to get my watch so I know where I am. So I'm going to start with everybody. Oh, I'm doing fine. That's it. Right. Okay. So, anyway, love you to do research. Help yourself, you all know about that. If you do your research, this is the results page that comes up. On the right-hand side, you can click in and go into more detail. And this is where I'd like you also to think where we go next. Pat said we ought to be talking about where we go next. We'd love to hear from you as to which direction we ought to go. As managers, we think we know, but we don't. We really need the feedback from researchers and transcribers and what really is bugging you, what we ought to go for next. And one of the things I would like to do is to have a stronger link between us and the parishes. So when, for instance, when someone finds an entry, and that is one of mine, they say, right, okay, here is the website of the parish, here's the picture of it, here's where it is, go and make contact, go there, and this will start to get people to work with us. It's all things in life, no one does something for nothing. If you want them to give you your parish registers to transcribe, you've got to give something back. And we can give back all the transcriptions we've got, very happy to give them to the parish, so you can use them on your database. I'm in the dark, but I don't think anyone needs to see me too much. At least they can see the screen.
I'm just monitoring comments, sorry.
Right. Then what I do in my talk, I then go through the various ways that you can search. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Burial entries. This is where mine were, Eastern Gordano. Actually, a lot of my relatives were in Pill, so we call them Pillocks, I think, but never mind. We come up with maps of where places are for you. You can also go in and find out what transcriptions have been done. And one of the developments we're working on is what we call gap records. We know that there are some registers that are missing. Basically, people borrow them and never return them for a start. There's been fires, water damage, rat damage, all sorts of things. And what we're going to do is to produce a means by, when you look through the transcriptions here, it'll say, this blank is missing, you will never find it. So if you're looking for a relative that could fall into that gap, forget it, you will not find them. It saves you wasting your time trying to look at it. So we're working these gap records, and we're going to start off at register level, and eventually we'll get down to year level. Because when transcribers go through, they can see there's gaps in the register. Some are because a single page, the ink has got so faint that it's unreadable, or it's been damaged, or it's been torn out, we found that as well, or there just was nothing happening in that church. There are some churches where there's gaps of 3 or 4 years, they've had a fire, it's been redecorated, everything is moved to another church. After that, they come back again. This is all about trying to help the researcher. Right, I'll step on through all this. This gives you a list of all the years that there are, which we give. And again, if you look at the other databases that there are, this information is not available in this level of detail. I personally think this is absolutely key for researchers when they get into the detail to know what they're looking for and what is there. Search results. And as I say, when I give a talk, I go through all the things you can do. I'm going to skip these for the moment. This is the Dickens bit I was talking about earlier. And there's a number of them there too. Right, database contents. Use the top left button on the home page called transcriptions, and this takes you into everything there is. Choose your county, choose your place, people where I live, and here there are a number of churches, a number of registers. You know when it was last changed. Over this side here, you've got the year range that's been transcribed. Sometimes you'll find 0 in there, but don't bother about that too much. That's because we can't read some of the dates. And then you can go down a particular register down into more detail. Number of transcriptions in each register by year range. And then this is the other thing I tell people about in the talk. To keep this database going requires a lot of background work. And the coordinators, the transcribers, and myself, system administration, have a lot of management actions that we can work on. You have to log in, and I'm Reg Manager, and here we have one long list. This lot actually comes down below here, but we've got loads of things we can do. The attic, if someone transcribes, whenever they change their batch of entries, the last copy goes into the attic, so if they lose it, we can recover it. Assignments basically is what images they've been assigned to. Batches are the transcriptions that they've done. Communications and contacts, we have a communication system where you can send messages to and from transcribers. A list of county coordinators, I can change the coordinator. Country coordinators, obviously the next level up. Denominations, when you're transcribing the churches, you select the denomination of that church. I can add extra denominations as we find them. And the gap records that I was talking about, feedback is when a transcriber wants to say, I found it, or sorry, a researcher says, I've found an error, please will you sort it out? The whole system works around that, and so on and so forth. We've got performance figures and so on, but not go through more. The point I'm trying to make is in the background there's an awful lot of work needed to keep the system going. This list of files that you have, I don't actually have any at the moment in that one. Lots of management actions. Again, I won't go through in detail. If you give me a talk to people, it gives them some idea of what's involved. On the transcribing, basically, if you're a researcher, you can, yes. Sorry, that's the contact one. That screen should have been before the last one. Researchers can contact us. That works very well. Sorry, transcribing, right. We have a data entry program called FreeREG. Unfortunately, we've lost contact with the programmer at the moment, which is a shame because we've introduced a lot of extra fields now. This really needs enhancing. But what we decided to do is to jump one step and start to work on an online data entry. This is actually a much better way of doing it, because the problem with this, it only works with Windows, and a number of our transcribers operate Mac computers. So if basically we can get the online data entry going, and linked to that has got to be an online training little video, that you can sort of help you how to do it. Hopefully we can get more transcribers. As I said to you earlier, we could do with 1,000 or more transcribers. We've got loads of images to do. We need to get a move on. According to my current calculations, I've got another 150 years worth of work to get all the parish registers on. So we could do with transcribers. but training them all, we need an online training system. How you volunteer, we have a code of conduct. As you log in, it sends an email to your coordinator saying, I want to transcribe. You can select which images you want. This is very important, I think. Someone never does something for nothing. If you want them to transcribe, they want to transcribe somewhere in which they've got a personal interest. We try and match the transcriber to the parish or to the county, to start with anyway, in which they have an interest. They can swap whenever they want to. They can transcribe for anything else. They can look through a list of what's available and transcribe it. And down the right-hand side, there's a button there, request allocation. Hit that button, message goes to the coordinator and says, this transcriber is asking for this parish, is it okay, or what's the quality like, and so on, so that they can then decide what they want to do. So we've got a very good system going there. So for the future, right? I mentioned about gap reports, loads of ideas. This is actually just an extract from the roadmap. This is phase 1.7. We're going up to sort of phase 2, which is sort of the major rewrites. We've pretty well cleared 1.4. 1.5 is a few to go. 1.6 we're working on quite heavily. So there's loads of these. But the roadmap is open for anyone to see. We've now got access to it properly. You go to the website, ask them to look at the roadmap, and you can see what it is. These are the ideas that we've got, and the general size. We all seem to be coming up with ideas, but as I said to you earlier, we'd love to know what you think is most important. Anyway, yes, what we're not going to include is actually quite an interesting one. A lot of the other websites allow you to build your family tree on their website. I did this on Ancestry, and Ancestry keeps emailing me saying, I found another person, and it's actually my grandfather. They keep telling me this time and time again, so I've killed my account, and I've just got totally fed up with it. Not only that, people have been adding to my family tree, and they're not my family tree, I know that. So we're not going to go down that line. People can do their own family tree. There's loads of free family tree packages. Use it, add it to it. But what we are going to do is make it so that you can download from us and put it straight into a family tree. So that's something we'd like to work on. And just I love to show this to the groups. This is the sort of thing that we're dealing with. This is a good parish register. That's nice and easy. You zoom in, you can just about read it. Then you've got these sort of things where you're looking at microfiche, this dreadful blue, but that's actually quite a good copy. Then you come into some of the older ones. You might think that's out of focus. It's not. That's actually how it is, because a lot of ink over time gets blurred, and it's very difficult to read. There's ink splodges and all sorts of things going on there. And then you get these where a lot of it's faded. You get mixtures of baptisms, marriages and burials all mixed up. And you get this one. Imagine trying to transcribe this. It's in Latin, but the biggest problem is that it's got bleed through. The page at the back, if you look at this right-hand side here, this bit here, a lot of it is coming through from the back. But because we have the back page, we should be able to write, I've asked some technical people to do it, but they keep dropping out and say, it's a bit difficult. We should be able to present them with the two pages. Say, this is the back to that. Can I please put that on the back, slide my front one round, tip it, enlarge it, because don't forget they won't be the same size. Got to enlarge it, move it, line it up, and get the back to subtract from the front. And then you can also change the amount of subtraction that it does. If you do that, all this will become very much more readable. So if any of you here are good technical programmers, there's a lovely little project for you to get stuck into. Not easy, but quite feasible. So this is another easy one. It's all nicely typed up for you. So this is what we give to the new transcribers. Oh, this was the example. This is even worse bleed through than anything else. Really, in summary, we're all volunteers. I'll leave you to read it. Pat said most of it anyway earlier on. So that basically is the end of what I've the talk. Now, you're very welcome to have that. Denise has got a copy. She can email it to you. It's about 7 megabytes. Quite easy to do. That includes all the images at the end there. Normally when I give it to a family history group, I take about an hour and a quarter over it, and then go for questions. So I end up with about 2 hours in the end. But that's it. So, back to all of you. Now, anyone? Yes?
You mentioned I'm actually a transcriber.
Sorry?
I'm actually a transcriber for this.
Yeah.
I've actually had some really awful ones and some very good ones. The point I was going to make was I didn't realise there were denominations other than the Church of England. I've never seen any.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes,
does it
lots of
actually say, which church it would be? If it was Roman Catholic or Methodist or something?
Yes, all of those. When the coordinator sets up a new church, he gets a list of all the denominations. If it's not on there, I can add it. For instance, in Wales, I think we must have about 20 different denominations. Welsh non-conformists and all sorts. I mean, there are loads of them. So, that's we can add to it. No, we're not just restricted to the Church of England. I must admit, we did start off with it. That's why it's called the Parish Register Project. But in fact, we're not always doing parish registers. For example, I mentioned to you earlier about the Manchester City Burial. That's a public cemetery. So that's that one we'd call unknown, I think we've come to, or even public cemetery. We can add extra names as we want. Any recording, particularly pre-1837, that's the real key, because the other projects don't handle it. Free BMD is only from 1837 onwards.
Have you got any non-Christian?
Yes? Oh, yes. Unitarian, non-conformists, we've got
Non-Christian, I consider God.
Zionists, yes.
Have we got any Jewish records, Aaron?
Jewish.
No, the Jewish records are actually quite difficult to get. I think someone's come across a few, but generally the Jewish church look after their own very much so. The main synagogue in London is a very, very good resource if you need to get into it. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
At the beginning of your presentation, you branched out all of the different records across the different counties, and you were saying how many you've done. Have you got a feel for where we're up to in terms of coverage? So how many of the ones that still exist have we got on FreeREG?
Yeah, we've virtually every county has started. I think there's about 3 counties where we don't have any records at all. This is because the County Records Office have said no. For instance, Oxfordshire is one of them. Oxford County Record Office entered into an agreement with Oxford Family History Society to manage the distribution of copies of registers. And obviously, because they earn money from it, that's it. And we have not had permission to access them. I mean, in theory, you could actually buy one of their CDs and then transcribe it. But that's totally illegal. It's totally against the terms and conditions, and we wouldn't do it. Not only that, we do know that these people actually introduce sleeper records into what they've done. That is a fictitious entry. And if they then find, you can search for our database and find one of these, they know that we've done something we shouldn't have done. So we're very, very careful about that. But the trouble is, they're missing out. This is what really annoys me. People, researchers are not going to go and search county by county by county by county. They're not going to buy CDs from every family history society. There are 70-something odd counties. You're not going to buy it all. Yet you don't know where to start. And families move all over the place. I mean, for example, where someone is buried is not necessarily where they died, because they get taken back to the family grave. We found them all over the other end of the country. This is why burial records are very useful. But unless you get countrywide, it's of no use to researchers. And so these people who dog in the manger about it, well, I'm sorry, but nothing we can do about it. We do our best. Hopefully in time they'll realise the benefits of, of coming to us.
Sorry, at the other end of the spectrum, so counties like Somerset, do you have a feel for what sort of coverage we've got there?
Somerset's doing very well. We got on very well with the Somerset County Records Office. We reckon we're up to about 90% of Somerset. We're still transcribing a bit, we're still adding a few bits, but we're really going back now into the very oldest registers and those which are very difficult to read. Yeah. Yes. Any other food for thought? I think I've finished earlier, haven't I?
I've just
Yes.
got up some records, though I'm just going to try and search to show the different kinds of churches with them.
Yeah.
I wanted to do Surrey because that's where I come from,
Yeah.
basically. And I was told they'd all been done. I said, oh, that's interesting because I can't find very many people. They seem to be missing for many, many years now. My family came from Wandsworth, which was in Surrey, now in South London.
Yeah.
But recently I've been involved with sort of local history project with somebody got some lottery money and been very, very keen to start researching. And I got a message from somebody via Facebook, so I've got to go through that, and she said, oh, I've got someone with your surname, is he from your family? And what she's looking at is a mission of the Congregational Church, and they're looking at all those records because they've been able to access this. Now, I've never seen any of those online, but this project has got them and they're going into the public library, and it was really interesting because my sister was actually baptised there.
Yep.
So I was able to see her record and my second cousin's records.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And for the benefit of the web,
There's loads of like little churches around. I think people didn't necessarily go to the Church of England, they just go to one at the top of the road, which was the case in my family, although my family were in the Church of England. They went there because it was convenient.
yes. For the benefit of the web, the question was that in Surrey, there are other entries which we've said we've done them all, but in actual fact we know that there are other entries from other churches and other denominations. I think when the Surrey coordinator said it's done, I think we've transcribed all the images that we've got.
Yeah.
We'd love to have more, and what we really need is people who can then make contact with the churches or the organisations. It doesn't matter what.
I was thinking, because I think this chap who coordinates this project would probably be very keen.
Yeah.
I do see him from time to time because he does local history walks.
Exactly. Yeah. They're the people we really want to make contact with, because I think it's the personal contact that's going to get us access to these, and we're looking any form of baptism, marriage and burial, but not only that, for older ones, in the births, marriages and deaths. Now, I know we're called FreeREG, but the thing is the other BMD project doesn't cover, that's just the GRO indexes. So if you want things outside that, for example, we've just had access to, from the National Archives, deaths at sea. And we've actually introduced a new county called At Sea, because people died out at sea, and and there are a lot of them there. And this again is useful family information. So we're trying to fill in a lot of those gaps. But if anyone knows, if anyone got contact with any church, any organisation, and they want to help donate, if they've already transcribed it, don't worry, we can convert it to our format and get it onto. We don't have to retype it. We don't. Yeah, have a word, please. We'd love to have it. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Eric.
Just leave that on the table there.
What I was playing around with when Eric was just finishing talking was showing the answer to the question about how do you know about where the records come from. When you go down to the level of an individual, like whoever this is, Alcott, that I just found, you'll see there's a line that says church name, and if you click on that,
I think you're being very adventurous here. Perhaps you've got to click on accept cookies first.
I can't actually see the
Yeah,
cursor.
the cursor's bottom right now.
Yeah.
I can't find it. I work with the mouse all the time.
Can I hand pass?
Yes, please. Can you find the? Can you do show that what I was trying to do?
Wait, is this the bit you want?
Yeah, and that will tell you the information about the church, and
Yes.
it will tell you who the transcribers were for it.
One thing that's not on there at the moment is the website of the church.
And we want to get that on.
Yeah.
For some of them, I think if you go to the place as well as to the church, the place will link through to the Genealogy website and its record of that place, which has got a huge resource that you can find out much more about that place from. What else was I going to say? So if there's anything that looks like a link, do try exploring and see where it goes, because it may tell you a lot more. Also on the results, if you see right at the top, it will say about this search, and that can be very interesting as well, because it will tell you where it's searched. If you've used, for example, the nearby places feature, it'll tell you exactly which villages that it searched and found something or didn't find something.
And as a matter of interest, these ones here, where it says one entry back there, 99% I'm sure that's a mistranscription. Someone has typed in 1700 instead of 1800. So the coordinator needs to look into that and find out what's gone wrong.